Okay, here is question 6. Once again, I'm looking for all the solutions, real and complex. And here is the radical equation. So I have x plus the square root of 6x equals 2. And I'm solving for x. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that down here. Alright, and the first thing that I'm going to do is try and isolate this radical so that I can essentially get rid of it. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides, and I'm left with square root of 6x equals 2 minus x. So now that I have this by itself, I can take the square root of both sides, which will undo this radical, and I'll have 6x equals, I have to be careful over here because this is really 2 minus x times 2 minus x, so I have to FOIL this out. Let's see here, I get 2, oh no, I have 2 times 2, which gives me 4. 2 times negative x is negative 2x, negative x times 2, negative 2x, and then negative x times negative x is a positive x squared. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. I get 6x equals x squared minus 4x plus 4. And then I want to go ahead and move the 6x over here. So I get x squared minus 10x plus 4, and I'll set that equal to 0 so that I can solve it. Alright, so maybe you tried thinking through this, but if I wanted to try and factor this, I would need factors of 4 that add to 10, negative 10, and there just aren't any. So this cannot be factored, so I need to use an alternate strategy. I could complete the square, I could use the quadratic equation. This one is pretty simple, so either one is going to be fine. I'll go ahead and complete the square just for some practice. So I already have a leading coefficient of 1, so I'm good to go ahead and move this 4 to the other side. So I get x squared minus 10x, remember I'm going to leave some space, equals negative 4. And what I need is b over 2 squared. So my b is negative 10 over 2 squared. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5, squared is 25. So I'm going to add 25 to both sides. And then I'm looking for a squared term over here. So I'm looking for factors of 25 that add to negative 10, and that is going to be x minus 5 squared, because negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. Negative 5 minus 5 is negative 10, so that'll work. And that's equal to 25 minus 4 is 21. Okay, so I need to keep solving until I get x by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of both sides here, and I get x minus 5 equals plus or minus square root of 21. The factors of 21 are 7 and 3, so it can't actually factor anymore. So then I just add 5 to both sides, and I get x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 21. And so that is what I put in up here. Oh, okay, that reminds me. So when you take square roots, you do always have to check for extraneous solutions. So maybe you got to this point and then you tried plugging your answer in over and over and over again, and it kept telling you were wrong. That's because you have to check your solutions. So, okay, so we have 5 plus or minus the square root of 21. And so I need to check and make sure these solutions actually work. So hint, they do not both work. So I'm going to erase this over here to give myself some room so that I can actually plug these in and see what happens. So I will try 5 plus square root of 21 first, and I'm going to plug that in for x back in my original equation and see what happens. So I have x, so I'm plugging in 5 plus the square root of 21 plus the square root of 6 times 5 plus the square root of 21 equals 2. And so when I solve this, I need to see if if this radical expression will work here. So 5 plus the square root of 21, I'm going to have to make an approximation of that because it's not a perfect square. So 5 plus the square root of 21 is approximately 9.58, and then I'm multiplying that by 6, and that gives me a positive number under the radical. So I get approximately square root of 57.5, and if I actually take the square root there, I get 7.58 plus, and then 5 plus the square root of 21 is 9.58, and this should be equal to 2, but obviously that is not true. So I need to check my second solution and see if this one works out. So now I'm looking at 5 minus the square root of 21 plus the square root of 6 times 5 minus the square root of 21 equals 2. Let's see if this one works out. So remember, this is approximately 9.58. And then under here I have 5. Oh, never mind. Back up. This is minus, so it's not going to be the same thing. That was a mistake. Okay. 5 minus the square root of 21 is approximately 0.42 plus, I'm going to approximate under here, I have that times 6, which gives me 2.5 under the radical, so square root of 2.5 is approximately 1.58. And this should be equal to 2, and I get 2.00 with the rounding that I did. So this is true. Okay, so always be careful there. So what that means is the only solution that actually works is 5 minus the square root of 21. And that is what I plugged in up here, and that is what worked. If you plugged in both, it would have told you that you were wrong. And that is the only solution I have. I didn't get any imaginary solutions because there was never a negative under the square root. So I put in NS, no solution, because I didn't get any imaginary zeros.